Hi, I'm Dave Crane. If you're a huge fan of James Bond, like I am, then you'll be gutted as I am about the recent passing of Sean Connery. Now, Sean Connery was lots of many things. It was obviously the iconic James Bond, even though there were many to follow, and Daniel Craig did a great job after a long time of bringing back the same kind of character that was embodied by Sean Connery. But in every movie he played, well, Sean Connery. Now, that's not a bad thing. There's only a couple of characters who are able to just embody that role where you know they were written for the actor. Jack Nicholson's another one. Gene Hackman's one of the few. And Gene Hackman's somebody who's just stopped acting, unfortunately, in my opinion, far too early. Why do you feel that? Well, because if you saw Skyfall and you saw Daniel Craig playing another great James Bond, you know that bit where he went into his old house and he was met by Albert Finney, the groundsman, who basically worked with him and M to take on Silver? That role was written originally for Sean Connery to pop up, just like he did in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, playing Indiana Jones's dad. But it didn't matter. He'd been in so many iconic roles, and the thing about it is whenever you saw him play a character, it doesn't matter who the character was, you knew there's something Bond in it. Where he played a dragon in Dragonheart, where it was like Bond being a dragon, or where he played an SAS prisoner, escapee, breaking back into The Rock. In The Rock, it was almost like James Bond years later. Whether he played the guy and the man who would be king, who was put into royalty, or as an entrapment, you're always waiting to see what he would bring to the table and when he would turn into that guy. And he didn't bother trying to disguise his accents. Maybe on occasion you'd miss it a little bit, but eventually that big Scottish brogue would come out that everybody tries to copy. I'm not even going to pretend to say that I could do. So when he played a Russian in The Hunt for Red October, or a Spaniard in Highlander, and I loved him in that role, it didn't matter. It was just Sean Connery playing that character. And you go, oh, we're in good hands. Sean's here. Stepping up to the role, whatever he did, was something that rewarded him ultimately in The Untouchables when he's got his Best Supporting Actor Oscar. And to be honest with you, it was more of a reward for all the things he'd done before, many of which were bigger, but Hollywood knew he had to get something while he was still making great films. And it was a great film, and his bit part shone in what was a really exciting movie. But that is by no means the only thing you should look at him. You should see him from going all the way back to Darby O'Gill and the Little People, which was when I first saw him. I was only pre-teen, and it was sort of a Saturday night movie watching while having your dinner, where he was a guy who discovered leprechauns and was singing and dancing in it as well. And it wasn't too bad in it. It wasn't great, but it wasn't too bad in it. To the other things you might have seen him in, when he played the monk in Name of a Rose, who was effectively James Bond looking for a murderer, or any of the other roles that you will have enjoyed seeing him in, there's something about him that just made you go, that's James Bond. The Medicine Man, Entrapment, even when he played King Arthur in First Night, or that amazing role playing an older Robin Hood in Robin and Marion, you didn't care because we knew that this was your opportunity to see James Bond again on the big screen. Now, eventually he fell out with Stephen Norrington whilst making The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, a movie I really enjoyed. Not a great movie, but a very good movie, and he played Alan Quarterman, bringing together a load of iconic monsters from fiction together to fight this big baddie. But it was a grueling experience, and he argued with the director all the way through, to the point where the director, who'd originally made Blade, and he just went, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore. And they both went their separate ways and never made another movie, with the exception of Sibylle, which you shouldn't really talk about, but it's a Sean Connery movie-ish, if you really want to stare at it from a funny way. So I've got to say, I feel that everybody had their favourite Sean Connery moment, and it depends on how old you are as to what string of movies you got to fall in love with him and his acting and his characters, and what time that you went, actually, I wish I'd known him from an earlier time as well. And he investigated the back catalogue and found something amazing. Whether it's something like Outland, or something like A Bridge Too Far, or as I mentioned, The Man Who Would Be King. So many iconic roles where you just go, that was brilliant. Oh, it was Sean Connery, right, that makes sense. So his passing is sad, but at the same time, his legend and his industry icon status will live on forever. And like anybody else, his ability to be that guy and make the screen light up and make you feel that there's good in the world and you wished he was your uncle or your dad, your husband, your boyfriend, or just somebody who had your back. That's Sean Connery. And for that, like everybody else, thank you. Here's a short tribute to the best or some of the favorites from IMBD of the legend Sean Connery.
Mr.
Bond. James Bond.
You said you wanted to know how to get to Capone. What gives you the right to fire on my ship? Those words that I read today, I didn't write them. Jamal Wallace did. And I command you now, all to fight!
A dragon would never hurt a soul unless they try to hurt him first.
Stay back if you value your life.
Your best. Losers always whine about their best. Never lose your temper.
Do you know much about guns, Mr. Bond?
No, I know a little about women.
Every time I saw you, I knew I'd have to tell you. I love you. All my failings were preparations for meeting you.